Okay, this is the Abyss Diana Phi planar headphone. It has a 63mm driver. It's called the Phi because they took the driver from that big, like Frankenstein head vise looking thing that's called the AB1266 Phi. They took that driver and they put it inside the Diana, and they called it the Diana Phi because it was kind of a hybrid of the two. It's 350 grams. It's kind of weighty. It doesn't really have any padding in the headband at all. For 30-minute listening sessions, that didn't seem to be a problem. At about the time I started to become aware of this, I started to build up some sweat and sweat and heat inside the cup. It's, just for reference, it's 24 degrees Celsius right now. It's the 23rd of October 2022. It's not really hot. I got a long sleeve shirt on, but this thing brings the heat pretty quickly. It has a case that comes with it that's made out of it's like a canvas bag, and it smells like a boot. There's no obvious discoloration anywhere on it, so it's not been soaked or gotten wet or anything like that. It's just, I guess it's been a long time since I smelled a canvas bag, but it doesn't smell very nice, actually. Just, who cares about that? I can smell it from here while I'm talking to you. Comes with a cable that is apparently 1.3 meters. It's fairly short. It is also very, 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 very small, actually. It's a little teeny tiny connection that I guess I kind of was expecting something a little more sturdy and stout at this price range. Not the case. Listening to it, let's talk about music. I'm giving my opinions because when I look online, I see something like, I see Josh Valor, and Josh Valor, 3 videos for the Abyss Diana Phi. So I'd like to kind of throw my hat in the ring and give opinions. I'm going to talk about music, obviously, so let's talk about some right now. Listening to, let me say first, I had an image before the set came, and my image was just based on my own mind, that something like Vivaldi would do really well with this, just because of the, I guess, the target audience, maybe the age. I don't know, this is aimed at 25-year-olds, maybe more like 40 and up, just my image. But I have that image before I got this set. Listening to a track by Alice in Chains called Heaven Beside You, I thought this sounded really good. Surprisingly so. I really enjoyed the playback. I actually went through some other tracks on this album. I went and listened to Heart Shaped Box and also Nirvana. I really enjoyed that. When I listened to Vivaldi, Concerto No. 1 in E major, this was a little bit of a surprise. The harmonics of the strings sound a little bit, I'm comparing this with the Susvara by Hi-Fi Man and also the HE6 SEV2. This has a little bit of a unique way of handling the harmonics of strings. On that particular Concerto No. 1 in E major, Antonio Vivaldi, the Masterworks, this sounds a little bit not on par with the Susvara. Another example of stuff up in the harmonics is Led Zeppelin, Coda, Hey Hey What Can I Do? It's repeated cymbal strikes by John Bonham. They sounded not ideal, again, like the strings for Vivaldi. Listening to Big Boy Kill Jill, there's a triple drop. The lowest one, according to a spectrogram, is at 38 hertz. The 2 other drops, one is in the mid-bass and one is right at about 60 hertz. Right at the sub-bass, mid-bass crossover was fine on this. A little bit polite, but fine. The ability to catch the 38 hertz hit clearly is a little bit different because the presence of the energy is there. The driver is getting stimulated, but it's not really the slam that some drivers can give me, like the Susvara. So this is not really a set that I think if you're into bass guitars, maybe this would be fine, because I didn't find anything when I was listening to Alice in Chains or other things where the bass guitar sounded unnatural. But when you get into deck mixed drops, stuff that is maybe lower, you listen to Massive Attack, or you listen to hip hop, or you listen to even Bob Marley to some extent, some of the stuff, this might not be the ideal set for you because it's not really tuned in that way. I haven't seen a graph of this and I haven't graphed it myself, but to my ear, the bass is not as present. I don't know how much that's got to do with driver size and open back, or I'm not sure, but the Susvara clearly takes all 3 drops. The Sennheiser Dynamic Driver 660s, I think it's called, that doesn't do that drop. The original Sundara doesn't do that drop. So there's a lot of other ones that don't, planar and dynamic. This is one that really doesn't. I'm not going to belabor this and keep getting on it. I think the padding is Let me turn it down again. I think the padding is really not a fan of it, but I'm not going to get on it. I don't know how you listen for a long period of time with this type of headband. I think that the heat buildup inside these pads is also an issue for me. Even in the winter, I think listening to the other sets that I listened to today, including the Mod House, which has got big fat, like Mr. Speaker's pads, I didn't get the heat buildup that this gave me. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. And again, the canvas bag smells. I don't know why. And these cables are a little bit kind of cheap and short. I'm standing at a review desk with the Jotunheim 2 right in front of me, in the ADI 2 DAC. I've got enough room to sit in my chair and listen, but so this is basically like IEM length of cable. It's pretty short, actually. I would expect something that's for headphones where people are plugging in with an XLR to amps. That's not really much room. If I'm sitting in a chair next to my stack, and I'm not going to carry this around with XLR because what am I plugging it into with enough power to drive it? So it's slightly confusing. So that's first impressions on the Abyss. I think it's overpriced. I think its design is non-ideal. I think it plays a library like grunge and to some extent rock, which I didn't imagine, but it does. And it doesn't play classic Verdi, Vivaldi, and some Tchaikovsky in the way that I imagined, where it's because I had a preconceived notion that this was going to just be a killer right there. Actually, not really the case. Now, moving on, I have the Symphonio, Triton, and also the Helios. I passed on doing the Helios review because the mid bass is not matching to me. I love it's hard to drive. I love the resolution, but I decided go back and visit it because I really want to try the Triton because that does look like it, so I can do them both. I'm going to try to grab the Meteor too. I'm waiting on Torque, basically, Toranco, to get back to me because I'm going to do all three of them in a video and a comparison. And someday I'm going to get a Storm, and I'm going to see if that's as revolutionary as people are saying. Getting to TWS and previewing what's going to be coming up, I'm a huge fan of the Edifier Neobuds Pro. I enjoy them more than the latest Apple, the AirPod Pro 2, I believe. And better than that set is a set called the Huawei FreeBuds Pro 2, which actually has a micro planar and a dynamic driver that might be 13 millimeters, I think. So these TWS are way beyond what I expected because I wasn't paying attention for a little while. I thought these were all 1DDs. They got 1DD, they got double DD, they got DD with a BA, this one has a planar in it. The tuning is really good on some of these sets, so I'm definitely getting into TWS. If you have this, you know what I'm talking about. This sounds really, really nice, and they tuned it really, really well. So that'll be coming up in a TWS Wars video. So the TWS is coming. The Symphonium group review, and whichever one is my favorite will get its own individual review, and then the Abyss will probably get a final full review. So that's it. I'm out. Yeah, I'm out.